Hello and welcome. Tonight, additional 123 Nigerians evacuated from Poland after fleeing the conflict in Ukraine following the invasion of that country by Russia. INEC rejects invitation by the All Progressives Congress to attend the emergency meeting of its National Executive Committee over non-adherence to guidelines. Party says its March 26 National Convention date remains unchanged. Ancient city of Ibadan comes alive as the 42nd Olubadan, Lalekan Balogun, mounts the throne of his forefathers.
And in international news from London, Ukraine's president says they will defeat the invaders as Russia widens their attacks to new cities in Ukraine.
And on business news tonight, Food and Agriculture Organization warns that 19.4 million Nigerians may face acute food shortage between June and August this year due to rising inflation and insecurity in the country.
On sports news tonight, Chelsea Football Club's bank account temporarily suspended by Barclays amid Roman Abramovich sanctions.
And from the nation's capital, 7 people, mostly children, reported dead during a stampede as residents fled from Shimfuda village in Jibia local government area of Katsina State.
As the war in Ukraine rages, more Nigerians trapped in the conflict continue to make their way back home. The latest are 123 citizens evacuated from Poland, where they had fled to after Russia invaded Ukraine. They arrived at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, aboard Air Peace in the early hours of today, after which they were taken through the usual procedures of documentation and COVID-19 protocols. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Another batch of Nigerian evacuees from Ukraine arrive at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, at about 1:20 a.m. They're 123, including an infant, and they are welcomed by a joint government team.
Thank God for your safety and for God's guidance that you've arrived here in Abuja safely. We would also like to assure you of your comfort and safety throughout the process of receiving you here at the airport.
Inside the hall, they are documented. They also undergo COVID-19 testing. Some of them shared their experiences while in Ukraine.
It was like a dream. We woke up hearing sounds of bomb and we thought we were dreaming.
Like I and my friends trekked from Lviv to medical border for 13 hours. We left Lviv around, we started trekking around 8 p.m. and we arrived medical border at 9 a.m. in the morning.
We were just disoriented and we had to stand for like 3 days on the train before we arrived at the border of Poland and went into Poland.
They also have some advice for Nigerians.
As youth in Nigeria, we should always, stay in peace. We should avoid anything that causes discrimination. We should avoid anything that causes fight and all the rest. No courtesan. These things, they are bad.
Each of the evacuees is handed a 100 United States dollars and a SIM card to facilitate their transportation and communication. More than 5,000 Nigerians, mostly students, were caught up in the Ukrainian crisis. The government hopes to evacuate those willing to return as soon as possible. These evacuees have stories to tell. The bitter experiences, the devastating effect of the crisis in Ukraine all linger on their minds. They're happy to return home, but they do not feel fulfilled that they're not back with their certificates. At the moment, 1,208 Nigerians have been evacuated from Ukraine, and in days to come, many more will be evacuated. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
And to electoral matters, it appears the ruling All Progressives Congress may have to do more in putting its house in order, as the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has rejected an invitation letter from the party to attend the emergency meeting of its National Executive Committee. INEC's response dated March 9, 2022, was addressed to the national chairman of the party's caretaker committee. The commission drew the attention of the party to the fact that the letter was not signed by the national chairman and national secretary of the party, which the electoral body notes is contrary to the provision of the commission's regulations and guidelines for political party operations. INEC also reminded the party of the provision of Section 82, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022, which requires at least 21 days' notice of any convention, congress, conference or meeting convened for the purpose of merger and electing members of its executive committees, other governing bodies, or nominating candidates for any elective office. The Commission therefore urged APC to note the key issues raised for compliance. In the meantime, the All Progressives Congress has vowed to go ahead with its planned national convention on the 26th of March. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the APC national youth leader said that the Independent National Electoral Commission has been duly notified of the party's intention to hold the exercise. Well, Mr. Ismail Ahmed, who is also the spokesperson of the Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee of the party, explains that there was no need for a fresh 21-day notice as demanded by INEC for the exercise.
Convention will hold on the 26th of March. I'm not only a youth leader or an interim spokesperson, I'm also a lawyer. And we have served a notice to INEC for the 26th of February. Earlier, we served that notice on the 5th of February. And that was the required 21 days. If you are going to make any adjustment to that date, all you need is a letter making an adjustment to a date. You don't need another 21 days. And that letter was since written about 2 weeks ago when we realized that we couldn't hold it on the 26th of March, on the 26th of February. The moment the CECPC agreed on the 26th of March, that letter was written to INEC, it was effected. INEC have accepted that letter, so that is long gone. It's not an issue. The issue of the date of convention is not in question, not in INEC, not certainly with us. So that's settled. It's sacrosanct, that date of 26th of March, and we have complied with all the rules, and we have notified INEC as appropriately expected for us to do that. So that's no longer an issue.
And outside the country, as the call for a decarbonized environment and net zero carbon emission continues to grow at global fora, the Nigerian government has come up with a strategy to achieve energy transition. The country's position has been heavily canvassed at the ongoing Energy Forum in Houston, Texas. Nigeria's position includes the call for investment in the country's oil and gas sector as enabled by the Petroleum Industry Act. Our energy correspondent, Olu Phillips, has details.
From the world's energy capital, Houston, Texas, gathered here are 6,000 delegates comprising policymakers, innovators, investors, experts, senior country reps, currently meeting and leading conversations around emerging trends as it concerns the energy market, global economy, energy transition, fossil fuel development, and of course, the recent geopolitical tension between Russia and Ukraine. It's the 40th anniversary of Sarah Week, headlining with the theme, Pace of Change, Energy, Climate and Innovation. Very recently, up until COP26 in Scotland, conversations have been heavy on preserving the atmosphere, the environment and the energy transition model. All that, however, seem to be getting a new dimension at this convocation. Experts here warn that energy demand of the world, which is still largely fossil fuel, is such a huge appetite that may lead to an energy crisis if transition to renewables are not managed properly.
Right now, there is no alternative to oil and gas, and so we have to keep making progress on climate change and aggressively pursuing the transition. But I think what you heard from Secretary Kerry and others you're starting to hear from as well is that we have to start managing the transition.
As a strong OPEC member country, Nigeria is represented here by senior NNPC management and the Minister for State Petroleum, and the message is unequivocal. considering Nigeria's energy poverty levels?
Yes, we believe in energy transition, the energy transition program globally. Of course, we are on that train. But we, as Africans, have our own very clear reality. Our reality is that we have to provide energy to our people. And we can only do that easier through gas.
If gas leads for Nigeria, then investment is key, or it will suffer the fate of hydrocarbon before the PIA.
IIGCC also has acknowledged gas and nuclear as transition as well, so that gives us at least a lever to continue to operate in that space.
No one here is pretending about the direct or indirect consequences of the geopolitical tension. Oil prices are high, threats of cuts will create gaps, one which OPEC Secretary General says may be difficult to plug. Is the world in for a catastrophic energy crisis?
We know, as a matter of fact, Russia has been exporting between 7 to 8 million barrels of oil and products. Now, where can we get replacement for these export barrels at the moment? We don't have within OPEC.
From the books, about 900 million people do not have access to clean fuel. In terms of the impact internally within Nigeria as regards energy access, as it concerns the broader transition crisis, the federal government says its focus is to accelerate energy access to her population, regardless of the talks around renewable and access to financing. From Houston, Texas, Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Back in Nigeria, the city of Ibadan today came alive as the staff and instrument of office were presented to the 42nd Olubadan of Ibadan land, Olalekan Balogun, in the Oyo State capital. President Muhammadu Buhari, who was represented by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, described him as one of the best prepared for the throne among his contemporaries. Governor Makinde, in his address, described the occasion as victory for the Olubadan ascendancy process, which was altered but now restored.
Drum. Sounds of eulogy and joy rends the air at the historic Makbo Hall as it witnesses yet another king being enthroned. Royalty from the south and north all turned up to pay homage to the new king. Religious leaders and other traditional leaders, technocrats and politicians join Ibadan residents from home and abroad to witness the day. Delivering the staff and instruments of office to the new king, Governor Seyi Makinde urges the traditional council to ensure a peaceful reign devoid of political coloration.
I want to use this opportunity to ask the Kabiyesi and the Olubadan Council that we should work to ensure that the laws having to do with the ascension to the throne of Olubadan remain sacrosanct. If there are to be any amendments, they should be self-conceived. The Olubadan Council should remain self-regulated without any external interference from the political class.
Delivering the presidential address, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, underscores the importance of Ibadan and expresses optimism of a peaceful and prosperous reign of the 42nd Olubadan, who he believes is well prepared for the throne.
It was in this city that the call for Nigeria's independence from British rule first resounded. The people of Ibadan bore witness to the exploits of iconic nationalists and leaders. Your Imperial Majesty Olubadan of Ibadan, I pray for you that your reign will be long, sustained with divine health and wisdom, and that this land in your reign will know great peace and prosperity, and that the talking drums will always speak celebration and thanksgiving.
In his brief remarks, the new king promises to uphold the trust reposed in him.
I'm very grateful to you all and thankful to everybody. I will not let Ibadan down. I will not let Nigeria down.
The new Olubadan, Senator Olalekan Balogun, is the second king to be enthroned from the Ali Iwo dynasty after scaling through 23 steps in more than 3 decades to become the 42nd king of Ibadan land.
In part 2, after the break, NDLEA operatives intercept 3 million capsules of opioids at Jalith bonded container terminal on the Tinkan Seaport in Apapa, Lagos. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Additional 123 Nigerians evacuated from Poland after fleeing conflict in Ukraine following the invasion of that country by Russia. INEC rejects invitation by APC to attend the emergency meeting of its National Executive Committee over non-adherence to guidelines. Party says its March 26 National Convention date remains unchanged. Ancient city of Ibadan comes alive as the 42nd Olubadan, Olalekan Balogun, mounts the throne of his forefathers. And Ukraine's president says they will defeat the invaders as Russia widens attack to new cities in Ukraine. Legal matters. A magistrate court sitting in the Yaba area of Lagos has ordered the remand of a bus rapid transit driver, Mr. Andrew Nice, over his alleged involvement in the death of his passenger, Olubadan Angonwole. Magistrate Omobola Salawu ordered the remand for 30 days following an application by the police. The police had filed the remand application, which it premised on a 4-count charge of alleged murder, sexual assault, misconduct, and interference with a corpse. 22-year-old Bamishe was found dead last Monday on Carter Bridge, Lagos Island, following her disappearance for about 9 days. To other stories, operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have intercepted 3 million capsules of opioids said to be more dangerous and potent than tramadol at Jalith bonded container terminal on the Tinkan Seaport in the Apapa area of Lagos. A statement by the Director of Media and Advocacy of the agency explains that the seizure of the capsules weighing 1,500 kilograms followed a similar operation in which anti-narcotic officers of the agency also intercepted over 8,000 kilograms of loud cannabis smuggled in from Ghana through the waterways at the Eko Atlantic Beach, Victoria Island, Lagos on Sunday, March the 6th, 2022. According to him, the seized drugs at the bonded terminal were said to have originated from Ningbo province in China and falsely labeled as containing 271 packages of insulating fittings, faucet, water closet, WC, industrial office printing machines. He said investigations revealed that information on the bill of lading and shipping documents were fake. And we're off to Abuja, where you have more stories coming from Terry Kumi. Terry, take it away.
Hello, Millicent. We begin here on a rather sad note, as news from Katsina State has it that 7 people, mostly children, are feared dead and several others injured during a stampede as residents fled from bandits in Shimfida village of Jibia local government area. Although the police are yet to confirm the incident, a resident of the area told Channels Television that the incident occurred last night after soldiers 7 in a joint security task force were withdrawn from the community. He said the withdrawn soldiers were initially stationed at the government secondary school Shimfida, about 27 kilometers from Jibia town. It was gathered that immediately after confirming that the troops were leaving, the residents of the area packed all their belongings and started fleeing their respective houses to seek refuge. Their action was said to have prompted gunmen to invade the area and kidnapped some of the villagers. Those are wives of soldiers and other women who stormed the residence of the 223 Tank Battalion commanding officer to protest the killing of the husbands by suspected bandits in Kanya village of Danko Wasagu local government area in Kebbi State. They were seen wielding sticks, some wearing black attires, while others burned tires, all in a bid to express their anger. In the video obtained by Channels Television, some soldiers were seen chasing away the women who had gained access to the house, while others were denied entry by the soldiers around. The commanding officer was said to have been in the company of the Kebbi State Deputy Governor, Samaila Yumbi, who was in the area on an assessment visit when his convoy was attacked, leading to the killing of the security personnel. In other stories, Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has warned that the nation's economy will continue to be in distress if security agencies and other government authorities fail to sincerely tackle the menace of crude oil theft. Governor Wike issued this warning during the commissioning of 14 ballistic gun boats donated by his administration to the security agencies in the state. He vowed to continue to support the federal government in the fight against crime despite his political disposition.
Governor Nyesom Wike, the Chief of Naval Staff, government functionaries, and heads of units and formations in the Nigerian military are gathered at the parade ground of the Nigerian Navy ship NNS Pathfinder in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. They are here for the commissioning and handing over of 14 locally built ballistic gunboats donated by Governor Wike to help security agencies fight maritime crime, especially crude oil theft and piracy.
There cannot be any good governance without security. Any governance without security is not a good governance. This gunboat I bought is for Rivers State. It's for Rivers State. Everybody from the oil producers should also buy their own gunboats. Don't carry this our gunboats out of the state. Protect the territory. Reduce the illegal pocket. Look at the suit so that we will not die of cancer and other ailments.
The governor warns that the laid-back attitude in the fight against illegal oil bunkering and artisanal refining of crude oil will continue to put the nation's economy in distress.
This gunboat is to assist the security agencies in trying to reduce the level of illegal bunkering and other crimes in the state. Use these things we have given to you today for the interest of Nigeria and the piracy in our waterways.
Before commissioning the boats, the Chief of Naval Staff commends Governor Wike's contribution to the improvement of security and pledges to step up action for a more secured waterway.
The complexity of maritime crimes requires all actors, both public and private, to synergize efforts to safeguard the nation's resources from economic saboteurs. I therefore salute the courage and resolve of His Excellency in this regard and assure him and the good people of Rivers State of the commitment of the Nigerian Navy under my watch to sustain the tempo of our maritime security operation efforts in the state, to the glory of the Almighty God and to the benefit of mankind. Thank you.
Out of the 14 boats, Governor Wike allocated 7 to the Navy, 3 to the Army, 2 to the police, 1 to the NSCDC, while 1 will be reserved.
In Delta State, residents who require housing may be closer to having that need met with the inauguration of some completed housing projects in Aniocha North local government area. They include 28 units of 2-bedroom bungalows, 16 units, 3-bedroom bungalows, and 24-unit condominiums, among other facilities. The Minister of Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, who represented the President at the commission, commended the Delta State government for providing the land for the projects.
The town of Ise-Lasagba comes alive with the presence of the federal government at this ceremony to inaugurate some newly constructed housing projects. Mr. Babatunde Fashola, who is representing President Muhammadu Buhari, accompanied by top officials of the Ministry of Works and other state government officials, are thrilled at the entertainment by the host community. Before the inauguration proper, the minister announces that the federal government is committed to fulfilling the promise made to the Super Eagles in 1994.
On behalf of the federal government of Nigeria, I feel proud and privileged
to redeem the promise that Nigeria made to these patriotic Nigerians.
Professor Chike Edozian, the traditional ruler of Asaba Delta State, represented by one of his chiefs, expresses gratitude to the federal government, but asks that maintenance culture must be imbibed for the project to last.
When you pass here in the next 5-10 years, you will see more people coming up. And therefore, we want to stress the need for maintenance.
It's now time for the assignment of the day, as the minister leads other dignitaries to officially inaugurate the project and inspect it thereafter. Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, represented by the State Commissioner for Housing, Festus Ochenogo, commends the federal government for the kind gesture.
The state also has commenced development of pilot scheme of social housing scheme in 3 locations, Ozoro Valley and Owoibu.
Nigerians, especially those who've long aspired to own a home of their own, can now do so by applying for them.
The form is online. If you can identify yourself as a Nigerian, you go through the process, you pay. Some people have paid, they have been allocated. So, and we urge people who are beneficiaries or contributors rather to the National Housing Fund. This is an opportunity. Mortgage bank can finance this for you to pay over a period.
Clearly, housing is very crucial to national development, which is why the federal government is matching its words with action to achieve this purpose.
Well, still ahead on the news at 10, Food and Agriculture Organization warns that 19.4 million Nigerians may face acute food shortage between June and August this year due to rising inflation and insecurity. Join us again.
Welcome back to Lagos. It's countdown to handover, and Governor Willie Obiano has held his last Executive Council meeting where he appreciates his ESCO members for their support in the past 8 years. During the Valedictory Executive Council meeting, the Governor-elect, Professor Charles Soludo, presented the Comprehensive Vision 2070 report, a project he was commissioned to undertake as chairman in 2019.
Governor Willie Obiano arrives the Anambra State International Convention Center and makes his way to the right-wing conference hall, where members of the Anambra State Executive Council receive him for the Valedictory Executive Council meeting. He showers encomiums on his EXCO members, citing their hard work, dedication and commitment, virtues which have made his administration successful.
All the achievements that people are praising me for manifested because of your support. So I very immensely appreciate yourselves for the dedicated service you render to Anambra State.
He presents awards to the EXCO members who are yet to receive theirs, and also a parting gift to all before the first segment of the meeting is drawn to a close with a group photograph. In the second segment, the executive members are joined by the governor-elect, who comes to present the Comprehensive Vision 2070 document to Governor Obiano. It's an assignment that was inaugurated in 2019 with Professor Charles Soludo as committee chairman. Addressing the EXCO members, Professor Soludo appreciates the governor for serving Anambra successfully and notes the laudable projects of the outgoing government, while assuring that his will be a government of continuity.
Given the ownership, the broad ownership of this, what is here, that the implementation of this plan will begin with the next administration. I want to tell you that my transition committee, as one of the working documents that they used, background document they used, preparation of the transition report, happened to be this document and my manifesto. So it's to say that already Vision 27 plan is already taking life.
Governor Obiano receives and adopts the report as a working document for successive administrations in the state and appreciates the governor-elect for the quality and prudent work he and Vision 2070 committee members have done.
the team, about 60 of you, worked very hard. And today, we have something that we can call our own, Vision 2070, for all people wanting to rule Anambra State in the future. With that, Anambra will never stray. So I'm really happy that my leadership was able to achieve this.
Governor Obiano assures the governor-elect of a seamless transition and continued support when he takes over. The meeting is rounded off with another session. This time, it is the governor-elect and members of the Vision 2070 committee members.
To some company news now. It is still Women's Week, and Access Bank PLC has hosted an International Women's Day conference to celebrate and discuss how the female gender can break the bias. At the conference, top female speakers lent their voices to the call to tear down stereotypes so women can attain their full potential.
It's the Access Bank International Women's Day celebration, and women from all walks of life are here at the Eco Hotel and Suites to discuss how the female gender can thrive. This is part of the financial institution's commitment to empower women to attain their full potential.
This week, Access Bank is saying, imagine a world where we don't have to imagine gender equality. You know, for decades, women have had to struggle to be heard and exert themselves twice as hard for opportunities that men take for granted, even when they are so much better. It is true that a lot of progress has been made, yet there is still so much more progress that must be made.
You were a child and you said to her, why are you in this relationship?
To break the bias, which is the theme for this year's celebration, the audience is treated to deep discussions that focus on building gender-related systems to foster women economic development and how to tear down stereotypes to empower women as high achievers in the society.
Okay, you were kind of sharp.
This conference is just one of the platforms the institution provides to achieve a gender-equal world.
We have quite a lot of opportunities in Access Bank. Putting it out to the world there. We are carving out the women because there are a great number in the population of Nigeria and in Africa where we spread across as a bank so that they can take the opportunities and build up their career, their businesses and all those things that mean for development.
It's a mentality thing, but if we can actually encourage ourselves as women, first of all, that this bias, maybe is a word that does not exist in our dictionary, you don't allow it to stop you. You go out there and break the bias. You go out there and do those things that is almost deemed like impossible for a woman.
Access Bank, through the W initiative, has been empowering women to build a more sustainable society, giving them access to a wide range of opportunities to share information, network, and enjoy privileges that enhance their lifestyle.
Beer brand Trophy Lager has rewarded some of its teeming consumers who participated in the Trophy Stand By Me initiative. The initiative empowered young Nigerian content creators to showcase their creativity through arts, short movies and music for 3 months.
After 3 months of mind-tasking competition, the Trophy Stand By Me creative initiative comes to an exciting end in Lagos. The initiative enables young creators to express their talent regarding the theme, "Now who stand by me, be my honorable," through poetry, music, painting, comedy skits, acting, dancing, and short movie production.
Always have a willing hand to help someone. You might be the only one that does.
The top 20 participants, coached by Trophy brand ambassador Femi Adebayo, popular rapper Tobichukwu Ejiofor, also known as Ill Bliss, and talent manager Andrea Manuela Giacalia, were then pruned to 3.
I love the fact that no participants will have the opportunity to go and recreate
At the end of the entire process, Yusuf Ayinla, Ayokule Odeleye and Oluwaseun Fagbemi emerged winners and earned a 1 million naira contract each.
The trophy right now has already empowered me, so I have no excuse now. So it's just keep making great content that will soon go viral. So expect more from me.
This is a very big platform. We've been working hard for years, trying to get the platform to expose what we've been doing and what we've been working on for years. And this platform has given us the ability to showcase what we are doing. So we're taking it to the next level.
International Breweries PLC describes the Trophy Stand By Me initiative as an opportunity for talented Nigerians to showcase their gifts to the world with honor.
This is about showing love to our consumers, period, right? So we don't just want people to buy our products and not care about them in return. So for them, there's really nothing we are trying to achieve beyond standing by our consumers and putting our money where our mouth is. Not just talking about the campaign, but actually doing something about what our campaign says.
The major challenge for any content creator is a platform. And this is a major one that Trophy Lager has created or given to the participants. So for the winners, I think this is a fantastic platform for you guys to showcase your craft.
The company says it will continue to inspire and equip young Nigerians to harness their potentials to good use.
Business News is next. Here's Teniola Shubowale.
Thanks a lot, Millicent. Welcome to Business News. About 19.4 million Nigerians may face severe food shortage between June and August this year due to higher inflation and rising insecurity in the country, and that's according to latest projections made by the Food and Agriculture Organization. At the presentation of a report on Nigeria in Abuja, the FAO listed 21 states in the country, with Borno, Yobe and Kaduna as the most vulnerable for the looming food crisis. Meanwhile, the FAO country representative in Nigeria, Fred Kefero, called on humanitarian and development partners to make use of the results of the current ECOWAS and Sahel regional framework for analysis of acute food insecurity situations to avert the projected famine. Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves has reversed the accretion which it recorded last week as it declined by $102.51 million week on week to stand at 39.77 billion naira as at March the 9th. The drop in the external reserves, which comes amid rising oil prices, the country's main source of foreign exchange, is largely credited to higher capital outflows from the country. The G7 leaders and the European Union have agreed to further impose economic sanctions on Russia for invading Ukraine. In a statement released today, members of the Intergovernmental Political Forum said they would deny the country the privileges of borrowing from multilateral financial institutions. They affirmed that the action is expected to further isolate Russia from the global financial system. The G7 countries include the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, France, Germany, Japan and Italy. Trading day at the Nigerian Stock Exchange ends the week in the green with 91.02 billion naira gained in 3 sessions. Will Ibong tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The equities market flipped losses made at intraday. The NGX won 193 points from low to high today and ended the day in the green. The all-share index rose by a similar margin as yesterday, 0.16%. However, there was a spike in turnover. Volume rose by 341% to 1.15 billion units of shares, and value rose by more than 0.5% to over 7 billion naira traded today. The financial sector dominated trades by volume, with FCMB coming out on top at 932.89 million units, leading to a 5-kobo rise in its share price. Now, the performance of the banking index mirrored transactions in that sector, while the gains in international breweries, Nigerian breweries and flour mills gave a soft landing to the consumer goods index, despite Unilever dealing the counter a big blow. The stock was down 5.7% in today's session. With February inflation data expected next week, let's see how the market reacts to this. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Willie Bong. Back to you.
And that's Business News Tonight. I'm Teniola Shobowale. It's back to Millicent for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Teniola. Russia's ambassador to the UN says Moscow's forces have found evidence of an attempt to clear up evidence of biological weapons in Ukraine. The United Nations says it's not aware of any biological weapons program in Ukraine, and the US has called such claims laughable and says there are a false flag to justify Russia's potential use of similar weapons against Ukraine. For more on Russia's invasion of Ukraine, here's Simon Pusey with Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. In a new video, Ukraine's president says his country will defeat Russia. Volodymyr Zelensky said it's not possible to say how many more days it will take, but his country will defeat the invaders. It comes as Russia widens attacks with more cities being targeted. The cities of Lutsk and Ivano-Frankivsk have been targeted, with Dnipro struck for the first time since the invasion began. Meanwhile, Russia has released video said to show its airborne troops on the move in the Kiev region. Satellite images taken by a US firm of a large Russian military convoy near Ukraine's capital show it has largely dispersed and redeployed. The convoy was last seen near Antonov Airport, northwest of Kiev, and its movement could signal a renewed push towards the city. The firm that took the photos said parts of the convoy were in positions in surrounding towns. The Ukrainian military, however, continue to fight back, here shooting at Russian forces in a village near Kiev. Video shows troops advancing towards an unidentified location and coordinating the operation while under heavy gunfire. The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has presented plans to phase out EU dependence on Russian fossil fuels by 2027. At a summit in Versailles, a declaration is expected which will likely include conclusions on energy, defence and the economy. It's an earlier and more specific date than the one proposed by the Commission on Tuesday, when they talked about making Europe independent of Russian fossil fuels well before 2030. Meanwhile, the EU is set to fund further military support for Ukraine. That's according to its Foreign Affairs Chief. Josep Borrell was speaking to reporters as he arrived for the resumption of the EU Leaders' Summit in Versailles.
500 million more on military warfare for the Ukrainian forces, and to continue thinking on more sanctions to the oligarchs and to the Russian economy. To support Ukraine military with 500 million more, and to continue putting pressure on Russia.
President Zelensky has roundly rejected claims by Russia that Ukraine is developing chemical weapons. In a late-night address, he said he worried the allegations meant that Russia might be prepared to deploy chemical weapons in Ukraine. Russia has made repeated accusations that the United States is working with Ukrainian laboratories to develop biological weapons, something both sides have denied. Despite this, Russia's president says there have been positive developments in ongoing negotiations between Russian and Ukrainian officials. Vladimir Putin told Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko, a key Russian ally, there had been certain positive shifts at a meeting in Moscow. There have been 3 rounds of negotiations between the two sides' negotiating teams on the Ukraine-Belarus border, and on Thursday the Ukrainian and Russian foreign ministers met for talks in Turkey. The US Vice President Kamala Harris has arrived in Romania to discuss the growing refugee crisis in the region. Harris will meet Romanian President Klaus Iohannis in Bucharest, her second stop on a 3-day trip through Eastern Europe. Around 2.5 million people have fled Ukraine, according to the United Nations, which has warned that up to 5 million people could flee. That would make it the biggest humanitarian crisis in Europe since World War II. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Shooting Star Sports Club have rescinded its decision to terminate the contracts of 17 players. The Ibadan-based club announced they had disengaged 17 players over poor performances. Most of the players were recruited this season. Now, according to the club media officer, Tosin Omojola, the reversal is based on management's decision to take another look into the issue of players to be dropped from the team. Going by the league management company's stand on the termination of a player's contract, 3SC's earlier decision negates LMC Rule Article B940, which states that a player's contract must be for a minimum period of 3 years. Chelsea Football Club's bank account has been temporarily suspended by Barclays. It's understood the bank needs time to assess the license Chelsea FC have been given to continue football-related activities. Chelsea say they are hopeful that the suspension will be lifted shortly. It comes after Russian Roman Abramovich was sanctioned by the United Kingdom government over his ties with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Meanwhile, Chelsea FC manager Thomas Tuchel says he trusts the British government to find a solution for Chelsea's operations to return to normal by the end of the season after sanctions imposed on their Russian owner Roman Abramovich left the club in limbo. Tuchel admits that it's too early to have an outlook on the summer with all that is happening now. However, the German tactician says he's confident that the issue will be resolved.
I trust in everybody who's in charge, and I trust into the people who are in charge from the government to find a solution that keeps us going through the season, and of course gives us the possibility to be in charge of our action in summer. And I think this is what we can do now. We were all surprised from today's news, and it's too early to have an outlook to summer, I guess.
Boxing promoter Eddie Hearn has confirmed that Anthony Joshua is prepared to fight heavyweight Deontay Wilder or Joe Joyce in an interim bout, with unified champion Alexander Usyk currently in Ukraine. Usyk is in his native country helping in the war against Russia and is unlikely to fight Joshua in their rematch this summer. Joshua has not fought since September when he lost his WBA Super, IBF and WBO world titles to Usyk, and Hearn said that although there were several options, his fighter was not interested in an easy fight. Haas returnee Kevin Magnussen set the fastest on the second day of the Bahrain Formula One pre-season test, pushing Ferrari's Carlos Sainz off the top of the timesheet during extra running after the official end of track action. The US-owned team have been allowed to test for a total of 4 extra hours as they were unable to hit the track during the first half of Thursday's opening day after their air freight, including their car, which arrived late. Now the run are extra today and plan to start an early lead an hour early and put in 2 extra hours during Saturday's final day of the test. And that sports news is back to you, Millicent, for the wrap.
Thank you, Tunde. And the main news again. Additional 123 Nigerians evacuated from Poland after fleeing the conflict in Ukraine today arrived in the country following the invasion of that country by Russia. Also today, INEC rejected the invitation by the APC to attend the emergency meeting of its National Executive Committee over non-adherence to guidelines, just as the party said its March 26th National Convention date remains unchanged. And Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky today said they will defeat the invaders as Russia widened attack to new cities in the country. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night. Stay safe.